all, Heretic here, one of the Hearthstone Battlegrounds Player Guide. Today, let us talk about a hero who likes to copy.
Every man absorbs the powers of every superhero whose comic book he touches.
There they are. Today, let us talk about Tess Greymane. Let's talk about them and the minions they use and how we can make this hero work. First, let's talk about the hero power Bob's Burgles. This costs 1 gold and reads, refresh Bob's Tavern with your last opponent's warband. What this means is when you hit your hero power, the shop refreshes, it's going to give you a copy of plain minions from your last opponent's warband. So it's going to give you all the minions they had, with the exception of they won't have any spell power, any enchants, any blood gems, or anything like that. They're just going to be the base version of the minions. This is a simple to use hero power. It has a lot of fun potential because it allows you to come up with some really bizarre board states. Having minions you shouldn't have, having weird combinations that shouldn't exist that are kind of unique to heroes like Tess. In the early game, it's a good way to enable early triples, giving you a little more tempo, giving you more value. So as you get to the later game, now you can start stealing the win conditions from your opponents, or if you've already established your own win condition, you can now cement it by cherry picking the perfect minions from their boards to help cobble yourself together with the perfect board. The easiest advice I can give you, though, is to not overtly pivot. You have to be careful that if you fight 2 or 3 opponents in a row who each are doing something slightly different, you might be tempted to change multiple times. This will quickly spend all your gold and have you losing the game. You need to really pick a lane once you decide what you're going to do and just lean into it as far and as hard as you can.
What?
And when tiering with Tess, I almost always fast basic. Sometimes I will 3-on-3, but it's fast basic. And the reason for this is I want to tier up relatively quick, but at the same time, you need to keep your options open for you. Remember, your opponents could be tripling early. They could have special things that you just want to grab that will give you more value in the early game or as you transition to that mid to late game if you feel the right minions. You want to keep your options open. So don't be afraid to say, heck with it, I'm not tiering. I'm going to stay right here because I've just been given the perfect option. You could find yourself sitting low tier all game if the opponents just keep walking up in the right order. It's continuously giving you the minions you need. So yes, you do want to tier so your triples get more valuable. At the same time, if they keep offering you just the perfect minions, don't be afraid to take them.
Minions assemble!
Now, when it comes to the minions and the strategies I like to use when I'm playing Test, first things first, you want stats. You want to have a nice solid stat board. That way you can survive, not give up that early health to find yourself your win conditions. With Test, you can be pretty free with it and just take the best stats you see. Then as people come in against you who have developed early win conditions, steal those and pivot yourself into that build. Unless you get lucky and you just find it, then you can cherry pick all the parts you want for your opponents that make your build even better. And always be prepared if you notice that the whole lobby is leaning for some reason into one tribe or another, or there's only 4 players left and they're all doing one thing. Odds are you can steal some of those key parts to make your version of that board a whole lot better. Now, when it comes to any specific minions you might want to look for when you're playing Tess, Tess doesn't really work that way. Tess can make any build work, but there are some that shine a little more. Now, if your next opponent you're fighting has 2 Chrononormus and your board isn't very good, you might consider just using your hero power and selling your board, getting those Chrononormus and filling in the rest of the board with other stuff. The stat gain alone, because 2 of them are in their shop, is outstanding. It really does give you a pivot into some more power if your current board is just some low stats that don't do anything. Menagerie is always a pretty safe bet with Tess because you're going to be fighting a lot of different people who have a lot of different boards. That means if you can take a little of everything, the best pieces, you can build a good board. So Team Master Theatar is always a safe play. Same with Brand. These kind of minions are going to keep you neutral, let you do a nice Menagerie build, and steal from every single opponent you face. That way you're maximizing benefit from any kind of builds they have. Otherwise, just put together that build you're looking for and always keep an eye out on what opponents might have to make your board a little better.
Strategery.
Now, when it comes to countering Tess, play a normal game of BGs as you would. Be prepared for whatever they're building and counter it the same way you normally would. But be prepared that the later the game goes, the harder it's going to be to counter that. So your best bet with Tess is to take them out as early as you possibly can. The worst case scenario you can be in is the late game where you're both playing a similar build and you have to fight them multiple times. Every time you fight them, their build is going to get progressively better while you're going to be struggling to find things. They just have to hit their hero power copy some of yours, if not all of it. Overall, Tess is a lot of fun to play. You have lots of options. Every time you find a new opponent, there's new scenarios that you could build. You could get access to tons of things you shouldn't have, and you can cobble together some really fun builds. But Tess has the problem of they have all those options. So if you change too many times what you're doing, or you get stuck and you can't quite pick the right one, odds are you're going to fall apart. So you really need to pick the most powerful one that's available, that's offered you, and just try to enhance that one as quickly as possible. Tess definitely can deliver, but you have to be patient. Stay tuned, I have more guides on the way. I hope you learned a few things today and had a good time. I know I did. Thanks for watching. Bye.